Printing in Lightroom is a straightforward process, though with many options to choose from. In this video, you'll get a general overview of the print module, and then we'll walk through the process of preparing a single image for printing. I'm in the library module right now. In order to get to the print module, I can either select print from the module picker or use the keyboard command or control P. So I'm in the print module now, and on the left-hand side, we can see a preview window, and you'll see what that is actually previewing when I open up the template browser. As I hold my cursor over the various templates that ship with Lightroom, you can see a preview of how those templates will act on your image or images when I roll over them. As soon as I apply the template, which I'll do right now, you can see it's applied to the image in the preview window in the middle. So below the templates, there's the collections panel, which you'll find in other modules as well. And these are your collections that you've created. This is just a way of getting to various images without having to leave the print module to find them. You can also find images from the film strip to work with. Any of these images in the film strip are now available to be printed. If you want to add more images to the film strip, you can either do that through the collections panel or here, and just select a source to add images to the film strip. So above the film strip in the middle is the preview area. And the preview area has the picture and it shows you the layout. There's also a lot of other useful information that you can add to this preview window in the middle. To access this information, go under View, and then you can select Show Info Overlay, for example. And the keyboard command I is probably the more useful way of doing that. I will remove it and I will add it back. And this is just telling me, for example, this is page 1 of 1, and the paper that I've chosen and the printer that I've chosen. There is also other useful information. The ruler, for example, which I can access by selecting Command or Control R. So there's other useful information as well. For example, guides. Command or Control Shift G will bring up guides. And you can also see there's a ruler there. And if I want to hide or reveal the ruler, that's Command or Control R. So let me leave that information up there for now, but you may want to remove it as you start working because it does get a little distracting. Okay, to the right side panels, this is where we customize our work. And we're going to go through all those settings shortly. Okay, so how do we create a single image? How do we prepare a single image for printing? Let's walk through that process. I'm going to start over here in the template browser, open that up, and I'm going to scroll on down to maximum size. And I think I'll select another image from the film strip. We'll work with that one. And I think I'm going to also get rid of the guide. So I'll hold down Command or Control Shift G. Clean it up a little bit there. Okay, one of the first things I need to do is choose a size that I'm going to print to. So that is done under Page Setup. So I'll select Page Setup here in the left panel at the bottom. And here I can choose a size. Now what you see here on your screen is going to be completely dependent on your operating system. It'll look different than what I have here. But I'm going to go ahead and select paper 8 by 10 inches. And then I've also selected my printer. So under print settings, this is where, again, this is going to depend completely on the printer that you're using. But this is where you'll choose what kind of paper, color, black and white, etc., etc. And that's just going to depend on whatever printer you're working with. So once you've made those settings, you can see they're reflected up here. At least part of those settings are reflected up here in the info overlay. So now we're going to move over to the right panel, and I'm going to walk you through the customizing that you can do using all these controls. But remember this, that one of the beauties of using a template like this is that we could actually go right to the printer. After what I've just done, what I've shown you to do, by selecting the maximum size, page setup, and print settings, we could go right to print and not even worry about anything else. And we come up with a decent print. But let me walk you through customizing a template, because frankly, that's what I oftentimes will end up doing. So under layout style, there's nothing really to do here. This is just telling me that I have chosen a single image rather than a picture package or a custom package. In another video, we'll get into what these options do. Basically, they're allowing you to use a single image multiple times or multiple images as a custom package. But we're just working with a single image for now. So under image settings, zoom to fill. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's filling up the page. It's not working with the aspect ratio of the image itself, just the aspect ratio of the page. Rotate to fit is only going to be relevant if you're using, say, a landscape-oriented image. If that's deselected, you're going to waste a lot of paper. So it will now rotate to fit that page. Let me go back to this image here. Repeat one photo per page. This is relevant if you're working with one of the templates, say the contact sheet template. If it's not selected, you're only getting one picture on that page, which is obviously a waste of the page. So if you select repeat one photo per page, you're filling the page with that single image. I'll deselect that, and I'm going to go back over to my maximum size. A stroke border, well, it does just that. It gives you a border. This is a black border right now, and you can barely see it because there's so much black on the edges of this image. But you can select a different color. We can make it a white. Well, a white border is not going to be that helpful. But let's say we can change the color. Now you can see the color, and the width will become more apparent when I move this slider over. So you can create a border around the picture using that. But I'm not going to do that, so I'll deselect that for now. So let's close that window. We'll go out under layout. Now, because I've used a template and I'm pretty much happy with the fact that it's maximizing the size of the image on the page, I'm not going to need to do anything in the layout panel. But you can see I can, if I wanted to, I can come in and customize the margins. I can even customize the cell size. I have complete control over how the image is going to appear on that page. But because I'm just going to use the maximum size template, and that's what I want, I'll leave layout alone. But just know there's a lot of customizing you can do right there. Now under guides, these are just guides that will not print, but they're guides that will help you as you're working with your image in the preview area. So let's go to page now. This is where we can really customize our print job. You can select a different background color. Right now it's just going to keep the same color as the paper. You're not using ink for the background, but we can select page background color and then choose a different color for the background if we want. If we really want to waste a lot of ink, I don't think this is going to be an option I'm going to use this time. Now the identity plate, I talked a lot about the identity plate in terms of how it can be used to customize the interface of Lightroom. For example, replacing this Lightroom 5 text over in the upper left-hand side of the module picker with your own customized identity plate. But the identity plate can also be used for printing. So if I select identity plate, and you see these are some identity plates that I've previously made. And by the way, you can make a new identity plate from right here by selecting Edit, and that brings up the identity plate editor. But I can go ahead and choose an existing identity plate, and once that's chosen and this is selected, I can click and drag and move that anywhere around the page. And if I want to resize it, I just hold my cursor over an edge and I can click and drag and resize it. I can also use the scale slider here. So you can really control where that identity plate is going. You can also change the color by selecting override color and picking from the color picker here. And you can render behind the image, which really, when you think about it, that doesn't make that much sense unless you have an image that's running pretty small. Let me see if I can give you an example of when that might be useful. Let's say if it's running 5:7, we select identity plate, render behind the image. We rotate it. We can rotate it like this. And now you can see how it goes behind the picture, but will still print on the areas of the paper that the image is not being printed on. I'm not so sure how useful this is, but I'm sure somebody has found a way to use that and is really happy it's there. Render on every image is pretty straightforward. It just puts it right over the image. Okay, so that's the identity plate. Let me deselect that, come back over here to maximum size. Watermarking, you can add your own watermark. If you've created your own watermark, it places it automatically, or you can edit the watermarks, and this brings up the watermark editor where you can make watermarks any way you want so that they fill the middle of the page or the sides or any size you want with any information you want. Complete control over how that watermark will appear. I think I'm going to leave that on. That is actually pretty useful to have that copyright associated with this picture. As far as page options go, there you go. You can have page numbers, page information, crop marks. None of this is relevant for this single image that I'm trying to prepare for printing. Photo information. This is a way of using some of the EXIF data that's associated with a photograph. There's not that many options here. You can't move it around. You see it shows up here at the very bottom. You can't position it like you can with the identity plate. And as far as your font size, you can only go as large as 16. But anything that's in EXIF data, for example, the camera equipment, lens, all that information. This is actually very useful if you're making a contact sheet and you want to associate the file name with all the different images that are on the contact sheet. And also if you have a caption built into the EXIF data or metadata, you can have that automatically appear. And you can also do custom text, but with the caveat that you can't position it and the font size goes as large as 16. So I'll deselect that. And the next and final option when you're getting ready to print is the print job. But up to now, we've been preparing this image for printing. So now we are ready for printing. So all this information that comes under the print job panel, we're going to get into that in a separate video. But this is now ready to go. And if you didn't go through any of the customizing that I did, and you simply went with the template, you saw how quick that was and how easy it is. And you're ready to go.